Hello everyone, Zbricks here, and welcome back to the Zbricks Show. My name's Zach, I'll be your host, and if you don't know, the Zbricks Show is a show where I talk to different members of the online LEGO community. Today I'm going to be talking to Mark Erickson. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Zach. If you don't know, I'm Mark Erickson, Mark of Falworth on all my social media, such as Instagram, YouTube, and Flickr. So you just Google it; it comes up pretty quickly. If you don't know, I was also on Lego Masters. So if you've seen the show, you'll recognize me from that. I wouldn't want to spoil anything, but I've been a long time Lego fan. Been building since I was about 5 years old. And never stopped building, never had a dark age, and really got into contests and competitions, and just kind of one step after the other until it's like completely dominates my life. I have no other hobbies. It's really fun. So.
Well, awesome. Thanks for sharing. So as per usual, I'll just start off with a few quick starter questions. So you mentioned you've never had a dark age, but do you know exactly when you started building with Lego? Maybe what some of your first sets were?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was older than 4. I was probably like 5 years old or so. My best friend got me into Lego. He had quite a few sets at the time, and so I was like, wow, these are the coolest toys ever. They're way cooler than Hot Wheels and plastic dinosaurs and other stuff I had before then. So I think my first Lego set that I got that I can really remember was it was one of the early dinosaur themed sets, and it was the third wave of the Adventurers line, and that would have been like 2001, maybe 2000. Not sure. I'd have to double check the year on Brooklyn, but it was a little vehicle and had these cool little rubber tank treads, and I loved that vehicle. It was so cool because it's like you could drive over the terrain and stuff. So that was definitely my first set, and pretty early building experience for sure. And having a younger brother, Steven, we always kept each other engaged, and even at young age, older age, if one of us stopped building for a little while, the other one would keep building, and then suddenly we'd both be building again. So we never ever had a period more than a month where we stopped building, I guess. It was pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome. Most of the AFOLs I've talked to have had a dark age at some point, and they really regret like giving away all their Lego and stuff. So that's awesome. Do you still have that old stuff?
I do. Now, I don't have any of the instructions or boxes, but most of the pieces, I know I've lost a few throughout the years, but like a good chunk of the pieces are still in my collection, sorted down long ago. But I still have all the original stuff. I should probably rebuild it at some point because I'm starting to kind of add to the collection of build sets now.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of people I've talked to that are very big fans of the adventure stuff. I know Maniac for Bricks, he was on last season. He has extreme interest in, like, I think it's the desert sub theme.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he has all the desert stuff. He's got all sorts of content on his YouTube channel covering it. So I mean, adventures is a cool theme. The dinosaur sub theme, like looking back, is a little bit out there compared to the other stuff.
For
But
sure.
probably riding off some of the fame of like Jurassic Park and stuff. But
Oh
it
yeah.
was there's still fun sets, and the dinosaurs just such cool molds for back then. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
pretty
it's
cool stuff.
interesting. The Adventurers line was really strong with the first 2 waves, the jungle and the deserts, and like typical Indiana Jones era
Yeah.
stuff. But then the dinosaur wave was a bit of an outlier, like you said.
Yeah.
A lot of the vehicles were more wild looking. A lot of the scenes were different. It had a very Jurassic Park theme, so they switched from Indiana Jones to Jurassic Park some point along the design phase. And,
Yeah.
yeah. But I will say that the early 2000s were not great years for Lego sets.
No, no.
Very amazing, unusual sets, but they weren't the best ones that we may look back on as like classic, or maybe they'll get their time in the sun at some point. But for as a kid growing up with those, they were the coolest sets. So I have a very nostalgic view of them, even if they're like, it's bad.
Yeah.
Like it.
Yeah. There's bad stuff you can enjoy though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like the prequels in Star Wars. It's like they're not good movies, but you love them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think of like all the Orient Expedition and those phenomenal sets, and then when I think of the dinosaur theme, there's that one set, I can't remember what it's called or really what it looks like, but I just remember it's like this landscape. I think it's like the biggest one, and it's so like obtuse, and it's like, what were these sets? But
It was a mishmash
yeah,
of different pieces.
yeah, and it's like it's just a bunch of large parts, but they're fun. I get why they're nostalgic because there's nothing really like it. It's very unique, especially the dinosaur stuff. So
Exactly.
that's a great wave, very fun wave. Um, so kind of talking about that, I mean, what are some of your favorite themes?
Right. So it all kind of started in those early formative years. I know that some of our earlier sets were they reissued one or two of the really classic 80s castle sets,
Hmm.
those being the Black Falcon's Fortress and the Guarded Inn. And I think it was 2001 or two, maybe three. Anyway, early 2000s, and they were basically identical to the ones you would get in the 80s. And me and my brother just loved these sets pieces. They were just the coolest sets because they're iconic sets from back then, but they briefly reissued them, and we were just lucky enough to get those too because we were way too. That was much before our time in the 80s. And we also enjoyed playing the early Lego video games, such as Lego Racers or even like Lego Island. And those featured other themes like classic space,
Yeah,
UFO. And so we liked, Castle was really big, the various Castle factions and themes. So, like Castle and Space, followed by like other things like Adventurers or even City and Pirates. So, all those classic Lego themes are really big, but I'd say primarily Castle, closely followed by Space. So,
yeah.
yeah.
So I'm guessing you're kind of sad they're not really making many castles these days.
I could rant for hours about how Castle's been swept under the rug for years, but there are some glimmers of hope. The blacksmith shop, the latest one, is
Hmm.
really an amazing build. So I mean, if they and even the Creator 3-in-1 Castle is pretty good too. So if
Yeah,
they keep on where they're going, I mean, we're going to see some Castle in space. And like I think we were chatting earlier before the show, they just released pictures of the space, like kind of a space base or moon base with the tubes and the domes,
yeah.
and that's looking great too. So I
Oh
mean,
yeah, I love
there's
it.
definitely hope. So,
Yeah. I think City's kind of making a comeback this year.
mhm.
They're really varying what they're doing. It's not just police cars in a police station. I mean, as minimalistic as they are, we have a school. We have, I
Yeah,
mean, there was what was there like a big bank? I mean, we get banks every so often, but we're getting stuff other than just police stations. And I
the
think
fire
there's a new
station is really
hospital. I
yeah.
mean, I love the hospitals. I got the last one. I may get this one. I don't know.
Mhm.
It's a little too similar, but there is a lot of hope for Lego City right now. I think they're
Exactly.
and with the creator stuff like the pirate ship, the castle, I think they're testing the waters because they're all old themes and they're all $100 sets. And it takes a few years for a set to go in production. So it's like, I think they're seeing like, is this stuff still going to be popular? And I think they did pretty well.
Yeah,
So I'm
I even heard some rumors
hopeful.
about a Viking theme. So fingers
I
crossed
heard
for
that
that.
too. Yeah, I that would be great. Those were great sets.
Mhm.
Those and the I love the old castle sets of like the dwarves and the trolls and stuff. Just
Yeah,
that was right. I'm trying to think the years of that, but
I know the dwarves would have been 2007 to 2008 ish, but like later 2010s. So,
yeah,
yeah.
I think that's right around when I started building with Lego
Mhm.
because I think 2008 I would have been around 5 years old.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's about when I started building because I remember it was like on the tail end of it. It was on the
Mhm.
tail end of those themes. Because I really started off with like the stuff I remember most vividly. I remember getting like some city stuff, but I remember
Mhm.
Power Miners. I remember
Yeah.
Indiana Jones. Those were
Oh yeah.
those were the big ones. I was able to catch Indiana Jones, which was a big thing. I don't have much of the stuff anymore. It's all scattered everywhere, but
Mhm.
it's still cool that I got to experience that.
For
But
sure.
and then of course Ninjago. I mean,
Obviously.
10 years and still going. Um,
Exactly.
11 years now, pretty much. But
Mhm.
yeah, the castle stuff was great. I remember I got a few of the. It wasn't castle. It was like the. I can't remember all the sub theme names. It was the because they had castle and then there was the one with the blue versus the red knights.
Yeah, that was also Castle, but it was like under a different theme. I think it was like because they had Castle, which is called Fantasy Era on Bricklink, and had
Hmm.
the trolls and the skeletons and the dwarves. And
Yeah,
then in 2000, I want to say 12 or 13, they had the red versus blue knights, and I want to say those are just called Castle sets as well. But then between that, you had the Kingdoms line, which came out around 2011, 2012.
that's
And
the
those
one.
were
Yeah.
like the dark green and the red and white. Those are some of my favorites.
Yeah,
Those are
that's.
really good.
I think that's what I'm thinking of because I had
Mhm.
Remember, there's like a jail one that's like a jail being pulled by horses or whatever.
Yep.
Like a like a
Yep.
prison cart.
Exactly.
Yeah, I remember like the drawbridge one. That one was pretty cool.
Hmm.
There were some great sets, and of course you have like the jousting tournament, the
Oh, that was
like the
awesome.
village that is skyrocketed in price, the goats,
Hmm.
the
Well, I didn't
yeah.
have the goat. I didn't have the goat flex yet, but
Yeah, yeah. Man, I haven't even ever seen one of the Lego goats in person. It's
they're pretty cool.
yeah. My friend has one, but I have not seen it. So
Hmm.
it's come on, Lego, just goats. We
They
want a
made the
goat
teeth.
battle pack.
Yeah, they
Everyone would
made the
buy
teeth. They can make those too.
it. I mean, if you put four goats in a $10 battle pack and that was it, you'd still have people buying it. It's
Exactly. I mean, I'd buy
yeah.
dozens. That'd be
I'd
awesome.
buy yeah. uh, yeah, but yeah, that was great. So other than castle, stuff like that, any modern themes that you're really into?
Hmm. I know that for when I look at sets, it's not always so much what the set is, but what it consists of. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
really looking at the pieces within the set, even the figure parts and armor, because I usually building my own stuff nowadays. It's been a while since the set theme like totally got me. I think like Indiana Jones or even like the old Kingdoms Castle sets was the last time I really had to get all the sets from the set line, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But so now it's like when I'm looking at this Ninjago, the Underground series, I'm not sure what the term for that wave is,
Mm-hmm.
but those sets were fabulous. And
Oh
I
yeah.
bought several of those just because I'm like the big bone dragon and the
Oh
main
yeah.
base of the villain. It was like it's like you can be just a fan of fantasy in general and just be like those are amazing. Like they had kind of a Dungeons and Dragons vibe to them. It's like I had to just get them just because they're so amazing. And then even some of the Monkey Kid sets, I'm
Oh
not a
yeah.
particular fan of the theme, but the builds and the quality of the sets and the parts. I had to get the big one that was like again the skeleton like big mech
Oh
thing, and they
yeah.
had all these glow in the dark pieces, and they are so vividly glow in the dark. It's amazing. I'm like these got to be radioactive or something.
Yeah.
But so a couple of those modern sets, they seem to be kind of the more scary fantasy ones, even though it's not usually my go-to. I'm like I just had to get them for sure.
Yeah. Now that I think about that, whatever that bone demon mech, whatever it's called, and then the big
Mhm.
skeleton dragon, you could do something cool both putting both of those together. I mean,
Exactly.
you could have a cool skeleton army or something.
Yep,
But
exactly. I have a bag full of just regular skeletons that I could have them all coming
yeah.
out of the ground attacking.
Yeah.
So I could
Yeah,
do
people got the clone armies and then you're over here at the skeleton army.
that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, those are great sets. The Monkey Kid set specifically, I haven't picked any up because they are kind of expensive and I'd rather buy Ninjago stuff because
Hmm.
I'm biased towards it.
Yeah.
But that whatever the new one is that's like the city, I have the Ninjago City sets and it's like, "Oh my gosh, I want to make this into a Ninjago City block so
Yeah.
badly." So, I may pick it up. I don't know. It's really cool though. The designers are killing it with the parts, with the minifigures. They are all amazing. Even if the
Yeah.
prices are a little bit high on those sets.
Yeah.
They are fantastic. That mountain one that came out last year, I never picked it
Yeah.
up, but that is a super cool set.
Yeah.
They are killing it. And the vehicle design, everything is so unique. So
Hmm.
unique.
Yeah. And colorful.
Oh
It's
yeah.
really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it never ceases to amaze me because every single wave that comes out, stuff isn't really the same.
Hmm.
There's always something unique and different. Like we've got like whatever this wave, you got like the bike with the big roller coaster wheel. Like, who thinks of this? I couldn't think of that. Like, how does this
Exactly. And
work?
the gold, I think it's the roller coaster turn
Yeah,
track. Yeah, it's
yeah.
just crazy.
It's man, they're killing it. They're great sets. I I would rather buy Ninjago, but
Yeah.
they're cool sets. So they're better than Nexo Knights, and I'm a Chima fan. I'd say they're better than Chima. So
Yeah, I think they've definitely, at least as far as the build quality, like the set quality, like what's the vehicles, they're just, I think they're better than the last generation of different themes that like
oh
have
yeah, I even think I would go as far as to say I think the build quality, like the actual design quality, is better than Ninjago. But
some of them maybe,
yeah,
yeah.
I don't have the nostalgia for the Monkey Kid. I I don't really know much about the lore behind like the ancient what would you call it? Like the ancient lore behind what it's based on.
Yeah, the
I don't
Chinese legend, yeah.
yeah, I'm not really knowledgeable of it. It's not really my thing, not my wheelhouse. But
Yeah.
I'm sure overseas, I mean, it's extremely popular because I mean, it's apparently it does a lot of justice to that stuff, and
Yeah.
they're great sets. So I mean, whoever thought it up and whoever started doing it, I mean, there's a there's an Easter egg in the big city set that basically says it's going to be in 2023 too. So
Oh wow.
it's
Nice.
it's going to be going on for a long time. Hopefully they keep it up.
Yeah. At
It's
least for the parts alone, in the really cool sets, so.
what did you study in school, and how does it kind of integrate with your Lego building, or does it?
Yeah, right. So, a lot of people, their jobs and their Lego are very different. I went to college for graphic design and website design, and so that is a bit of an artistic field. Not like crazy because there's also a lot of coding, but there is a bit of you have to know, what colors look good, how
Yeah.
to structure a website, or even I've done book covers and I design a lot of T-shirts now for work. And so that does tie in quite a bit because it's all things about color theory, composition. So a lot of those things that I've kind of learned building things out of Lego do translate over, although it's much more two-dimensional usually. I'm not anyway 3D artist. I'm usually just a flat screen
Mm-hmm.
or a surface but that's printed on. So yeah, I think it does. There's a bit of overlap for sure. And because I work at Atlanta Brick Co., I've been designing T-shirts like crazy and been incorporating a lot of Lego themes and like mashups and all sorts of stuff. So I think it's at first it wasn't as much, but now it's become like very intertwined. I'm really glad that I pursued that as a field of study, and I think it's being a having that Lego experience really helped that. So,
That's awesome. Yeah, I was originally going to go into graphic design. In high school, that was one of my interests. I'm right now I'm pursuing industrial design.
mm,
Because I'm a little bit more 3D oriented than 2D. So
mm,
it's I mean, building with Lego is obviously very 3D. So
very
it's
yes.
yeah, it's about as 3D as it gets. So um but that's kind of the route I'm going down. But that's awesome. And I guess so I'm assuming the Atlanta Brick Company logo, you probably designed it?
Not the original Atlanta Brick Code logo, because I wasn't hired immediately when the business started. But Chris, one of the owners, he designed it. He's a huge Star Wars fan, so he did that brick within the Imperial insignia logo.
Yeah.
It's been our logo ever since. I think it looks pretty good. So I'm really
Yeah.
happy with it.
That's great. What is it like working in a Lego resale store?
It's really interesting. It's actually it's very much helped me keep as I've gotten older and I have like a full time job and all that. It's kept me really involved with Lego because you're literally surrounded by it all
Yeah.
day long, and so I'm able to keep up with all the sets that are coming out. Able to keep up with parts. I'm usually building at least something every day, so it keeps my building skills very, very sharp. And it's a really fun place to work. I'd say the only downside is you're always tempted to buy something. Like
Yeah.
so it's like, oh, I want this mini.
I couldn't work there.
I
I'd be broke.
can't buy everything every day. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm just gonna put this in my bin and I'll buy it end of the week or something. I have
Yeah.
to kind of ration it out so I don't just spend all my money.
Yeah.
So it's really fun for a lot of reasons, but you kind of have to have a lot of self restraint when you.
Yeah. I don't have a lot of self-restraint when it comes to Lego. When
Yeah.
I after my because to y'all we actually I actually met Mark at Atlanta Brick Co. When I went in and I happened to see he was working there and I was like, oh, it's the Lego Masters guy. but um but it's a cool store. It's fantastic. It's I mean, and I'm assuming like when all the stuff comes in, you're probably one of the first ones to see some of this stuff. So it's like if it's the best stuff out there, you probably have a lot more a lot more
Exactly.
you have to
Yeah,
have
I
more
definitely
self-control to
get
get it.
first
Yeah.
dibs. If something cool comes in and I'm like, yeah, I need that. So I'll just grab it and I'll buy it right
Yeah.
away versus letting it get to the store shelf. So there's a couple like I've a couple classic sets that I've needed to kind of get to round out my collection,
Hmm.
and they came in and I'm like, Chris, what kind of offer you want to make me? So the employees don't necessarily get an actual discount, but it usually prices them well for us if we want to buy something from the store.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's been good for that if you're like hunting for a particular set,
Yeah.
but also bad because you tend to spend a lot of money. But at the same time, Lego is actually a good investment these days, so it's not a bad thing.
When I went in there looking at Ninjago stuff, oh my gosh, I was the restrictions I had to put on myself. Like I see all these sets I want, and some of them were at pretty good prices, and I was like, I kind of want this stuff, but I was like, I don't have room to bring this stuff back. I can't spend this much. But I mean, you I saw there were two sealed rattlecopters. It blew my mind to see
Mm-hmm.
two sealed rattlecopters. I got one not too long ago, and I've got it in my sealed collection. Never opening it. It's
Yeah.
gone up so much in value, like
Mm-hmm.
5 times its value. But I mean, the stuff you had. How many minifigures, Ninjago minifigures? I had to call over one of the employees like twice because I was like, oh, I just have to keep picking out more minifigures to like fix up my collection. I'm
Exactly.
man. I have a resale store in I live close to Denton, Texas,
Mm-hmm.
and we have in Denton the first resale store in the state of Texas, first Lego resale store in the state of Texas.
Nice.
Minifigs, Bricks, and more. For those in the area, please go support them. They're a small business located on the historic Denton Square. They are an awesome business run by awesome people. Go check them out. But it's in comparison, that store is like nothing at the same time. I mean, it is Atlanta Brick Co. so big, but I mean, I have never seen like sealed Ninjago sets in there before, and
Mm-hmm.
like old sets, and to walk into this store and have little to no like idea of what a real big Lego resale store looks like. Oh my gosh, it blew my mind.
Yeah,
It's
we are one of the bigger ones in
yeah,
like this
I
part of the country, if not the country. There's only like one or two Lego stores that sell mostly Lego that are actually larger than us. So it's like if you haven't been, it's worth checking out if you're in the area for sure.
oh for sure.
Yeah.
It I think I saw online. Now, I could be wrong. I think y'all are the biggest solely Lego resale store
Yeah.
in the continental
There's
United
probably
States.
toy stores that are larger, but yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
As far as Lego resale stores go specifically, I think y'all are the largest.
At least
And
one of the largest, like
yeah,
worldwide. It's pretty awesome. So.
it is a huge store.
Mhm.
But yeah, absolutely go check out that store if you have a chance. It's insane. It was pretty cool. So when you were on Lego Masters, I mean, what's the experience like? Is it like how it is like when you're watching it at home? I mean, what is it like?
Yeah, that was kind of what one of our major questions going into the show was is like, what is it even going to be like as an experience? But once you get on that set, it is like, wow, it's even cooler than what you see on TV because what you're seeing is like you can have the biggest TV, but you're still only getting a small perspective of the whole the Lego Master set, the brick pit, interacting with Will and Amy and Jamie. It is amazing. I mean, it's like a full studio production. You got thousands of lights above you. You got 30 cameras all around the room. Some like hanging from the ceiling. It's just insane. It's mind-blowingly cool. So just walking on the set, everyone's like, "Woo!" And that's real enthusiasm for being on set. It's just fantastic. One thing that I've noticed while being there and building and interacting was the brick pit, it has tons of pieces. Like I think it's 5 million for season 2. It's a lot of pieces, but they don't have all the pieces. So there's a little limited. You don't have all the slopes. You don't have all the most of the tiles and bricks. But some of the more unusual pieces or plant pieces, there might not be as many that we're used to building with. But there were so many of the regular pieces, and they were all well sorted, that you could build, if you figured out what pieces were there and were able to use them, you could build so quickly compared to building at home, because you're like, you don't have to look for a piece, you just walk over and grab like a giant handful of 2x4s, and there's like an unlimited supply of them. So you can build really big stuff really quickly. So it was really an amazing experience just being able to be on the show. There's only, I think there was 24 contestants in season 2, which is a little more than the season 1. And that's still a tiny amount of people compared to all the people that applied and were, hoping to be on the show. And so I think there's a season 3 coming out. So
I'm pretty sure, yeah, they are, they're currently, not that we're hiring, what are they? They're getting people for it. But, yeah, I mean, that was one of my biggest, like, questions, was, like, they've got, like, infinite parts. Like, I mean, it's interesting that they don't have all of them. I would suspect that, like, it would have taken up so much space to have everything. But, I mean, like, we see, like, a little bit of it on the actual show watching at home, and it seems kind of small on the show. Like, how expansive does it have to be to have, like, so many parts?
Yeah. Well, when you cover pretty much all the main colors and some of the side colors like dark red or dark blue or even dark green, getting all the types of 2x4s and basic colors is those big round areas in the front, and then you got and 2x2s as well. And then you go from like 1x1 all the way up to 1x8 bricks, and then you go from 2x6 all the way to 2x10 or 12. And they cover those in most of the colors. And so covering just that is a large area of space. Like I would say anywhere from 500 to 1,000 square feet just for all that. And then you have the specialty pieces, you have Technic, you have all these other different sub-themes of pieces you'll need for even basic creations. And like plates, they had a pretty good section of dots this year compared to last year. So we had those small quarter rounded tiles and stuff like that, really useful pieces.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was pretty expansive. That being said, when they had to move cameras in, they actually had to move part of the entire brick pit out of the way to move these big rolling cameras in. It was a little bit of a mobile area, at least on the left side. But yeah, it was a lot of pieces, and but that being said, there were limitations because I'm used to working with pretty much all the slope varieties that Lego's produced so far. Maybe not some of the brand new ones if they're in a brand new set, but and so they only had a handful of even the most basic slopes. Like they had most of them in dark gray, a few in green, and a few in white and tan, and then like slopes that were blue or yellow or dark red or red. They might not have that size that you need or were thinking of that you would have access to. So you have to kind of learn to adapt and learn to change, like maybe simplify it, use basic bricks or plates. So you see a lot of chunkier builds on Lego Masters, like you'll see the kind of a little bit more blocky looking, because you have tons of basic bricks, but not all the specialty ones necessarily.
Yeah. But you just gotta use you gotta use like not the slopes, what am I saying? Tiles and plates to make the rounder shapes, which is hard to do when you don't have those normal curved parts. But I mean, it's doable. Yeah. But I mean, it's still, it looks cool when you do it like that, you know? I mean, that's just so crazy to think that many bricks. Do they have like, because you were saying they have 2x4s in almost every color. Do they, like there are some colors that they haven't made 2x4 bricks in, like just using that as an example, 2x4 bricks. Do they have parts and colors that aren't wide released that you get to use?
I do know that Lego in bulk is actually very expensive, and it's unlikely that you'll see more than like 1,000 or a couple thousand of any one particular element together. You'll rarely see that in like sets or even collections. Like I don't have tons of 2x4s. I think I might have the most in like yellow for like filler areas of creation. But I don't have tens of thousands of 2x4 bricks, but seeing that many together was just kind of mind blowing, and it really changes what you're able to do, and it changes what you're able to do in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
So these kind of creations are only possible with this kind of backup from Lego as far as parts count. And
Yeah.
having about 40 people sort down everything and clean up everything every single day. So
That's
like
crazy.
it's a well-oiled machine. It's a real enterprise. So it's just kind of mind-boggling to work with that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So, I mean, just having that many parts, I mean, do you just like get the feeling that you can just build like anything? Is that like, what does that feel like going into like some like a
Yeah.
build?
It definitely you have it's a little bit of like a blank slate of wow, you could do anything. At the same time, even with basic bricks, which are very sturdy when snapped together,
Hmm.
you do have physical limitations of Lego.
Yeah.
That kind of goes into just building experience with Lego, knowing what is possible and what isn't possible, what's doable in a certain amount of time. The time pressures are pretty intense on the show because
Hmm.
I mean you got anywhere from 4, 6, 8 hour builds, or you have at the very end, if you're lucky enough to get that far, you have a 24-hour build. So you
Yeah.
kind of have to calculate what is even possible in that time frame because building Lego is typically a very time consuming thing,
Hmm.
but you got to be careful with that. But yeah, very. I would say, yeah, one of the main things to worry about is, and one of the things we planned on was if we're building something like, say, we had to build a giant hack for episode
Yeah.
4, I think it was. It's like you have enough bricks to do whatever you want, but will it even stay together if you put it on your head? So
Yeah.
be careful, even if you have unlimited in certain types of pieces. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's kind of backwards to, I mean, normal mock building to where usually you're trying to exceed what you're like, what the minimum is. But here
Yeah,
you kind of have to set limits for yourself of how big you
exactly.
can go. That's interesting. So I guess there's kind of a learning curve to it.
Oh, very much so. The first episode, Steven and I were like on pure adrenaline. We did something simple, but something we're kind of used to, a big creature, a water landscape. And but then after that, there was a major learning curve as far as what pieces we had available, how to kind of deal with the size and scope of things that we were making and make sure that they stayed together or broke apart in certain situations. We actually had to have them fall apart. But yeah, so just massive learning curve, being able to adapt to that kind of situation. The show is amazing and it's a wonderful experience. It is extremely difficult though. The schedule is very tight. You're doing back to back all week. It's not like there's an episode a week. We were filming a couple episodes a week. So,
Yeah.
it's getting past that curve is really difficult. And it definitely it was much tougher than Steve and I thought it would be. But, we had a fun time for sure.
Yeah. That's awesome. And then you come home and you don't have infinite breaks.
Yes,
That's yeah. Then it's back to the other learning curve. Yeah.
exactly.
But
Getting used to reminding like, oh yeah, I don't have unlimited 2x4s anymore.
yeah,
I
I
gotta
can't build like this
dial it down
again.
just a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. It's just that's one of my dreams is like the opportunity to have like this much stuff to build, like
Mhm.
such cool things. It's that's got to be like so exhilarating. Like getting
Yeah.
to build stuff like that. It's like that's a once in a lifetime opportunity to
It
build.
really
I
is.
mean, especially like those 24-hour builds at the end. That stuff is insane. And they're displaying that in one of the Legolands, right?
Yes, all 3 of the finale builds are on display in Legoland. Yeah, spoiler warning.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those were pretty impressive. In fact, Caleb and Jacob,
Hmm.
they were the third place team. Caleb just went down. I think it was last week and saw all the builds again. He was like, "Wow, I forgot how big they are."
Yeah.
So because they're pretty massive, they're pretty awesome. So
Like
yeah.
how big are they? Like when you're done with the
So
especially
um,
yours, since
oh
you probably
yeah,
know it the
so
best.
Zach and Wayne's tower was I want to say it was definitely over 4 feet. It was probably about 5 feet
Oh
tall,
my
all
gosh,
total.
wow.
And then ours was about 4 feet tall, maybe a little bit more. So basically, if you can imagine a very beefy toddler just
Yeah.
kind of standing on the table looking down at you. It's a pretty
Yeah.
intense experience. And then Caleb and Jacob's build was no slouch either. That was pretty big. It was only slightly shorter than ours, and then Zach and Wayne's was quite a bit taller because it was like a tower. But they
Yeah.
were just massive, and that 24-hour build limit really allowed us to build that big in situation. Like we talked about, the brick pit makes it much quicker. And Steven and I using mostly basic bricks as much as possible for like gray in the landscape, gray and green, and then a lot of brown in the tree guide.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's awesome. Especially Caleb and Jacob's build. The hourglass, the way they had two and they put them together. I mean, it's
engineering marvel.
Yeah, the way they did that. I mean, it's Lego like y'all are all real Lego masters.
You have to be to get that far.
Yeah. I mean, wow, that's just some incredible building. And having to incorporate like the lights into it, that was really cool too. I mean, they all lit up so well. So, I mean, it's just, wow. Like, the builds are insane watching every year, and I can't wait till next season to see what it's like.
We've set the bar pretty high. We'll see how season
Yeah. But yeah, I'm excited to see who's on it too. It's always fun to see like community members on it. I mean, it's great. I mean, Moto was on my podcast, and then next thing you know, he's on season 2 of Lego Masters, and it's like, I've talked to that guy. But
That's awesome.
yeah, but it's always exciting to see who it is because I mean, you keep it a secret. It's you can't tell anyone.
Exactly.
So it's yeah.
Even if the trailers are dropping, and you're like, yeah, that was Steven on the trailer, but we can't say anything.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool. So. But awesome. It's been great talking to you, but I think we're about at the time limit for this episode. So, yeah. So I think we can start wrapping it up. Anything else you'd like to say before video's over?
Let's see. First of all, thanks, Zach, for having me on. It's been a great
Absolutely.
chat with Lego and Lego Masters and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, if you want to keep up with what I'm doing, just look up Mark Falworth on any of the major social medias, and yeah. Keep on bricking.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for being on the show. It's been great having you. And make sure to check out the next episode, guys. I don't know who it's going to be, but I know that we have an episode coming up with Titanium J52 and Jin Blade again. We'll be talking about Ninjago updates and stuff like that. We did one in January. We'll be doing one again over winter break, so you'll probably see it here in a month or less. So just keep an eye out for that one, too. And as per usual, have a great day and a wonderful week. Zbricks out.